something very interesting got brought to my attention, and I've taken a very interesting approach to it, to balance it out, and it's going to be an approach that um, well, it's going to piss a lot of people off, depending on who sees the freaking video. Um, I'm from Australia, if you've seen my videos, and basically what's happened is in our country we have football. Not on if you know football from an international scale, um, that's like Premier League, FIFA type shit. No, I still call that football. What we have out here, if you've heard of rugby, um, that's you've heard of that around the world. We have rugby down here. We call it the NRL. That's one of our local footies. And we got a bunch of teams down here. We love watching the freaking stuff. And I would say over the last 10, 15 years, they've tried to introduce more and more, like, through the different rounds of the events, they try to introduce, like, special rounds to give, like, key shit away. If you're, like, if you take, like, the Americans, how they got the Native Americans, Australia has natives as well, called the Aboriginals. And there's a special round called the Native Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander round. And the jerseys are done in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artwork. So everyone wears, well, you got the option of wearing those jerseys. And most people don't have a real issue with it. And the jerseys look really nice. But obviously pushing forward to the point of this is what happened quite recently with the team, the Manly Seagulls. Manly is a suburb in northern Sydney, rich suburb, and they're destined to take on the Sydney Roosters. And they're introducing the Pride round, which basically means they put a rainbow somewhere on the freaking jersey. And what happened leading up, well, the round even hasn't happened yet, but leading up to the round, the club, leading up to the photo shoot, didn't consult the players. They just basically said, turn up to the fucking photo shoot and put these on. And didn't go over too well. They just automatically expected the players to go with it. And some of the players were happy to put it on and go with it. About 9 players turned around and said, we're not going along with it. Why? Surprise, surprise. Religious and cultural issues. Big surprise. Now, I know there would be people in the LGBT community who are instantly raging and pissed and, why can't you just let us enjoy ourselves? Well, because it's freedom of freaking speech, and as much as you LGBT people, well, consider this. What's the one thing that comes out of every LGBT person's mouth? Every opinion matters. Well, this applies to the religious and cultural people as well. Even with things you LGBT people don't like to hear. Every single time you scream out transphobic, homophobic, or I'm triggered, this is basically people who disagree with you voicing their opinion because their opinions matter. And sadly, if they want to express their opinion, it's the fact that, hey, they shown up to work. We want you to put on a pride thing, and if it goes against their religious or cultural beliefs, they're like, no, we're not going out there. Oh, well, you have to go out there and wear this. And they're like, well, then we're not playing, bench us. Fuck it. We don't care. And that's exactly what's happened. And it's at a critical point because they made the Pride round pretty much a playoff round because Manly's situated in 9th place. And basically the top 8 teams go through to the finals. And the Roosters are in 8th place. So Manly actually needs this win to make the finals. So they've put this Pride round shit in a very critical spot for Manly. And it's what's pissing off and divided the fans immensely. Because a lot of the hardcore fans want these players to play so they can make the finals if they win, but it's also divided them with the LGBT community because, hey, we want our pride represented. So it's now tossing up. What's more important? Your pride community or the team winning? And why are you going to the game? Are you going to the game to support the pride community or to watch a football game? People are saying, why can't you have both? Well, that's become a huge debate of the issue. And this is where my point of why I'm recording this video. Because I tore it all down in the end. I looked at it from a broader sense. I added an extra question onto it. I said, well, the people who are saying we're not going out there because it doesn't fit with our religious or cultural beliefs. I asked, well, is there a religious or cultural round to fit their beliefs? And I'm like, well, you just say they're Christian or if they're Muslim, right? Let's take 2 of the biggest beliefs in the world. If they're Christian or they're Muslim. In the NRL, is there a Christian or Muslim round? No. Why? Why is there an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander round in the NRL? Why are they putting in a Pride round, but there is no Christian round? Why is there no jersey with the Christian cross on it? Why is there no jersey with a Muslim symbol on it? Why is there no religious round in general? And that's when I started to just realize in general, if you think about it that way, and then you reflect on where I was before, you go to the football game or the sports game to watch sports. This was actually one of the reasons where I was born in Bankstown, and I was supposed to be a Canterbury Bulldogs fan, but I never did because for a while the Bulldogs had more Lebanese flags at their games than they did Bulldogs flags. Became overrun by Lebanese, and it became more a Lebanese arena than it did a freaking Bulldogs arena. That's how bad it got down there. So I ended up becoming a Cronulla Sharks fan. It just suited me better. And I randomly selected it. I was young at the time. And I was just into the football. I didn't want to be part of that type of mob. And that was the answer that I came to. I wanted to watch the sport. I didn't want any of the politics or race or any of that freaking shit. And that's the answer at the end of this video. There doesn't need to be a Christian round. There doesn't need to be a Muslim round. But that applies to the rest of it. There doesn't need to be an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander round. And there doesn't need to be a fucking pride round in sports either. And if that upsets the LGBT community, the LGBT community should have realized by now that every single giant fucking group, from Apple to Spotify to the fucking NRL to FIFA, every single time they stick your stinking rainbow flag on their fucking shit, they're not doing it because they love you and they fucking support you and they want what's best for you. They're just doing it to virtue signal. They don't give a fuck about you. You think you would have figured that out by now? You think it would have clicked in your friggin' head by now? And yet you assholes actually believe that they give a shit about you. I don't know why, but you believe it. But that's my answer to it all. I just remove all these special bullshit days from friggin' sport so that the players can just go out there wearing their normal stuff and there is no conflict. Because, look, it's just creating conflict because now the players go out there and they know, oh, look, the thing is, now the players are looking at each other and they're like, oh, you got something against LGBT people. And it's like, I'm religious, it's against my beliefs. Oh, so you got something against LGBT people because your religion. And it's like, yeah, well, my religion's against it. It causes conflict on the fucking field. And the thing is, if they didn't know that, he's got literally nothing against it. He can go his whole life without saying anything and just be like, I start nothing with you, and I'll let you live your whole life without starting anything with you. You go about your own life, I go about my own life. We live each other's life completely freaking separate. But it's only because you tried to force something on him in his life that you started the fucking conflict. You brought it into his life and you tried to force something on him and he had to say, no, I don't want it. Can you just leave me out of it? That you brought conflict into his life. Now all the friggin' press is on him and now people are going to jump down his throat and you bet everyone's going to start calling him homophobic, transphobic, and there's going to be all shit on him that it's going to cause friggin' chaos. When before this, no one knew anything, no one gave a shit. So that's why I think there should be no friggin' pride round, nothing in friggin' sport. There should be no special rounds. It should just be sport.